Making his debut on Baylor at TV Boxing, finally, cheeky chappy.
Bit nervous.
Me too,
Yeah.
shaking the hand. Eddie Hearn.
Yes.
Eddie, do you know how many people come up to me on the street and say to me, you need to interview Eddie Hearn, you need to interview Eddie Hearn, why don't you interview him?
Maybe I'll give all the lines, give the hype,
So
give the bullshit, give the smile. That's it. That's what I'll do. I just deliver with a bullshit and a smile. That's it. That's the secret to success.
And I'm the man today to ask the questions.
Go for it. Wherever you want.
Let's start. The role of a promoter. Explain to us clearly what the role of a promoter is for you.
Well, to put everything together. I mean, I'd love to say that I was responsible for all the operational success of our shows, but not at all. I'm responsible for the idea and selling it. And behind me is a great team of people who cover everything from the matchmaking, sanction fees, to the seating plans, the manifests, hotels, transport. It's a huge operation. But my ultimate role is to put bums on seats and to make the shows as big as possible. Put fights together, come up with the ideas, and then sell it. So once a fight is made, it's really over to the team to make sure that everything's ticked accordingly, and then for me to go on the road. A bit like I'm probably a bit like a glorified used car salesman. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the same sort of thing.
Glorified.
Or travelling, maybe a photocopy of salesman.
Would you not say that you are currently just a salesman on the road?
Yeah, but same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Salesman. I'm an on the road.
But used is a bit undervaluing yourself, wouldn't you say, Eddie?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Used,
You're right.
You're not used.
No. Used and abused. I get in the car and I go all over the country and I sell fights. That's right.
Okay,
so,
right.
And it's quite tiring actually. It's a great job to have, but there are days when you wake up and you go, I've got to speak to people today, like again and again and again. But when you make a fight where, this is a good example. Talk about it till midnight tonight with 400 people because it's fascinating. Sometimes you're selling a product, it's like anything. If you believe in what you're selling, it's very easy to talk about. If you come up with a fight that's good but it's not, overly sexy, you've got to work a lot harder.
Okay. Question I want to ask you: how attached are you to your fighters? And when do you have to detach yourself from a fighter that you find you're getting too close to?
Everybody different. So some fighters will have managers.
Yes.
Some are self-managed.
Yeah.
Some like a direct relationship with a promoter.
Yeah.
If you have, some fighters that I've worked with in the past, you're not even really allowed to talk to the fighter, which for me, I don't know how I can get motivated if I haven't got a relationship with someone. If I like you, if we're close, I'm going to work a lot harder for you than I will for someone that I don't even know or I don't even really talk to. It's just common sense. So some fighters I've been with for a long time, I'm very close to. Some fighters I speak to every day. Some fighters I don't speak to.
Okay. So let me use the term cash cow.
Yeah.
And thrown under the bus. Cash cow meaning the guy that brings the money in. You find that as a precious fighter. That guy that, come to the end of his contract, not very good fighter, not performing. Is it, for you, a situation where it's perceived by others to be throwing a fighter under the bus?
Not really, because you can't make a fight. I don't decide who fights who.
Interesting.
I put the opportunities to a fighter.
Right.
So if they don't want the fight, they don't have to take it.
So there's not a situation like you've got to take this fight, because if you don't take this fight, it's your opportunity.
A fighter at a certain level.
Right.
I'm not talking about a world champion or anything like that. But,
right.
Who might say, you have to take this fight. This is the fight for you.
Right.
And it might not be. It might be a 10-round fight.
Yeah.
You're 10-0.
Yeah.
Right. You've beaten everybody. Journeyman guys. And then I'm
Dave Allen,
with a guy who's 5-3.
Okay.
And they go. You turn around and you go, I don't like that fight.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
really?
So look, that's the fight for you. Otherwise, I can't work with you.
Right.
I don't. But the higher level guys.
Yeah.
You put the opportunities to their team. and to the training team, the manager if they got one,
Right.
the agent, the lawyer,
Yep.
and they'll look at the opportunity, they'll look at the money, of course, and they'll make the decisions. If they say no, you have to come up with another one. But if they say no too many times, it's like, what am I doing here? It's a bit like the Eubank situation with Golovkin, where I was asked to deliver something, delivered it, and then they didn't want to sign a contract. So in that situation, it's just a bit disheartening.
I'm glad you came onto that point because I want to add something. I had a conversation on my live shows and I want you to clarify this for me. So I'm talking to the man himself. Intellectual property. A fighter, I'm not saying you do or you don't, I'm going to find out. If you sign a fighter, and when you sign that fighter to your promotion brand, which is Matchroom Boxing, is there in a contract that you hold their intellectual property that even after they've retired, you can still have their fights on record and you can still play those fights and make money on it?
Good question. Good question. Intellectual property rights is generally something that people talk about but know nothing about.
Right.
Okay. So and fighters love to use that phrase. What about my intellectual property rights? They say, "What are you into?" I don't know. I read that we should hold them.
Yes.
In answer to your question, the fighters retain those rights nowadays. So, for example, Chris Eubank Jr. is a good example.
Yes.
He would have a contract, and his contract would say that he has non-exclusive rights to his fights moving forward, as we would as well. The exclusive rights to a fight and to these libraries that you talked about used to be held by the promoter.
Yes.
And actually, Eubank's a good example because Nigel Benn and Ambrose Mendy had a big, they were talking about who owns the rights to the fights. Back then, no one really perceived there to be any value to the long-term rights of a fight. But obviously, classic fights, as they've progressed. As it happens now, because of social media, because of YouTube, the value of fights over time is actually much less because people have seen it. People can go on, and as much as you try and take over the piracy element, it's on YouTube. So how much value does it give a broadcaster to show a fight of that magnitude? So, for example, in this fight, if this fight is unbelievable, Kell Brook can sell that fight around the world for as long as he wants and benefit off it. Okay, it has to mirror the contract of the host broadcaster. So, for example, if Sky Sports had 12 months exclusivity in a territory, UK, Brook couldn't sell that to a UK broadcaster for 12 months. Okay, which is fine. If there's any value in the fight, it's going to be long term anyway. So, after that, if ESPN come on, in wherever, in Asia, and say, we'd like to buy Brook Golovkin, he can sell it to him. But, that is something that has progressed over time. I believe it's actually not a waste of time, but I think sometimes people think there's so much more value in the rights that they believe.
Let me throw something to you. Muhammad Ali, the greatest. Okay. His property or his intellectual property has been bought for, I think it was 50 million or something like that. So there's somebody else out there who can make money off of Muhammad Ali. Surely.
But who did they buy it off?
I think it was some American guy.
But things have changed and the business has changed. You are also talking about one of the biggest sporting icons of all time.
Yes.
So, but just like every sports contract, things change. The world changes. Back then, people didn't think that in 50 years' time, Muhammad Ali's old fights would be worth a lot of money. Because the broadcast platforms were different. There wasn't as many broadcasters out there to purchase international sporting rights. So, if it was in today's world, there is no way Muhammad Ali's lawyer would let anybody have the ownership of the fights unless they paid for it up front.
Mayweather spent 400 million to own rights to all of his fights. Smart move?
Well, if he can get the monetary value for it. A lot of this time, people, like I said, people, they believe that they sort of have a chip on their shoulder that that's mine, And now, like if a fighter comes to us and says, we want our fights, our rights to our fights for future. I'll go, all right then. Like.
That means
there isn't the value. Listen, if you're Muhammad Ali, if you're Floyd Mayweather, then there's going to be huge value. If you're a world champion or a British, there's just no value in those rights. But if it makes the fighter feel more comfortable, because every fighter, until they trust you, everybody believes that the promoter is trying to have one over on the fighter. That's just like
Is that true?
history. Yeah,
Is that true?
It's true. It's true. Not that in different levels.
Right.
Some might say, no, I've got a good promoter, but you know, no, promoters are like.
Yeah.
Or others might go, don't trust any promoter. They are dogs. You know what I mean? You have to build the trust. You have to gain the trust and the respect from the fighter. They can't just automatically trust you. It's like a girl, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like going out with a girl. You want to trust them and you give them the benefit of the doubt.
You do your research as well.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You ask your mates, you go, "Hey, what's she like?"
Yeah, exactly. and the fighter will as well.
Yeah.
But it's through experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, if you're with a good girl and you think, I trust this girl.
Yeah.
No. And that's just the same. And it's like any relationship
Okay.
where trust is brought in. And you know, there have been some dog promoters out there in the time who have stolen and nicked from fighters. So it's only like a track record. It's like the girl who you spoke to your mate. What's it? Oh well, actually, she cheated on the other
Yeah.
guy. Oh, well, she might be alright. There's a mistake, isn't it? It's just like a promoter.
So then, what type of a girl are you then, Eddie?
I'm an honest girl, but because I can be. I don't need to nick and I don't need to pilfer. We've got a very solid business in and out of boxing. So we don't, like if we were skin, if we were banging trouble, if we needed to somehow make more money to survive, or maybe I'd be a dog.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that have been in the past have done it because they are in trouble and they are skin and their accounts do look terrible. So they do anything for a way out. We don't have to do it. Maybe one day we will. But we're all right at the moment. So we think that our reputation is everything.
Yeah.
Like you talked about, you do your research.
Yeah.
I talk to anyone we represent.
Yeah.
And as a fighter to fighter.
Yeah.
And ask them what you think. Maybe the only criticism will be, oh, they've got so big, they're not as interested in as much anymore.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you're probably not that great a fighter. Do you know what I mean? Because if you are, I'm on you all the time.
Yeah.
Some fighters have to, we're in a situation now, as brutal as it may sound, where if you're not a great fighter, I'm not really that interested.
So do you throw them under the bus then?
Not under the bus, I want to find out.
You say you want to find out, but
I'll tell you something.
Okay.
The difference between throwing someone under a bus and finding out is you get them to a stage where we're ready to find out. Throwing under a bus is saying, right, you're not ready for this fight, but fuck it, go in it and at least we'll find out now. We make the investment, we build you, we give you every chance, then we need to know.
Okay.
That's like, this is the extreme version of that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Kel, you've done everything, you've been up and down, you've had some horrors, you've had bad luck, you've been for everything, but we're there, we've beaten, we've had a couple of mandatories, now we need to know. How good are you? Because everyone tells me you are the best.
Yeah.
So let's see it. You lose to Gennady Golovkin, okay, go back, maybe defend the welterweight title, maybe fight Canelo, maybe. But let's find out. Because he's 30, he's made his money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it ain't really for him, I'm cashing in. He's got money, he's got houses. They want to see if he has got that level that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
Oh my God, are we going to find out?
We are.
It's not like he's fighting, Broner or even Thurman or these kind of guys.
Yo-Yo Dan.
Fighters. Yeah. But he's fighting. It's the ultimate.
Absolutely. And you've got to give him credit for that. Eddie, what's your view on the internet world, the YouTube? Are you a person that looks at YouTube a lot, or are you a man that kind of swerves it?
Not really. I mean, I only really use YouTube to look at fighters. So, whether it's opponents that our guys are for, guys we're looking to fight. I look at Coogan stuff every now and again, but it's been a huge part of the success and growth of the sport. So you can't ignore it. It's a bit like social media. Social media is a real pain, and it's difficult when you're knocking your bollocks out every day to get stick and you think from a guy who's probably not even
done
looking
anything
for a job.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I can appreciate that.
At the same time, you have to embrace it.
Yeah.
So there's been times where I thought, I'm going to come off Twitter now and let our social media guys run my account.
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of defeats the object of having, I've got the followers I've got because I interact. And we're as big as we are because we interact with fans. Whether they like us or not, we're still there. You can ask us a question, we'll answer it.
Yeah.
And fans like that. They like that. The great thing about boxing, as you'll find being here today, is it's accessible.
Absolutely.
So you can come to a Man United press conference, start sitting down with Rooney and going, all right, Wayne, so tell me this. You'd have someone standing over you if you did go, last question, blah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
again, you wouldn't even get the interview anyway. So, the great thing about boxing is that the fighters are accessible. Everyone will talk about it. And
One or two
the growth of
questions.
the internet.
Al Haymon. Have you met him?
Yes.
He exists.
Yes, it does exist. Yeah.
Okay. What would the impact be of Al Haymon being in the UK, and how would that affect Matchroom and their sort of marketing model?
I don't think it really affects us a great deal because we have a 5-year contract with Sky, so we can't really move anywhere anyway. We have 24 shows a year. People look at the UK market and think, wow, there's an opportunity there. But if there is, why are we the only ones making money? There's other promoters that are operating in the UK who aren't being successful, who aren't showing profits on their company accounts. So just like I look at America and I go, there's an opportunity there. How do you go and monetize it? I don't believe I could go into America and become a success because I don't believe there is the broadcast contracts out there needed. Really, as a promoter, you're only as good as the broadcaster you work for.
BT Sports?
Yeah,
If Al Haymon wants to go that way?
I think BT Sports will end up doing something with Box Nation. That's what I think. I think Haymon is, well, I know they're looking at doing some stuff with ITV4, but again, that's not a rights deal, that's a time buy, more or less. So I can't operate a business without a rights fee. Through his investment, Haymon's been able to go to broadcast in America and buy airtime and put fights on, which is the most disastrous model you could ever put together. And I think now they're looking at it and going, right, cut, and they're trying to develop a more streamlined business. If you come to the UK and speak to a broadcaster, ITV, and say, right, we want 8 shows a year, we don't need a rights fee, we've got investment to pay for that. Can he make it work? Maybe. Do you understand the market? Do you understand the punters? That's the difference. I do. Some promoters don't. I don't think you can just put on a show and then the public will go, oh, I'm going to go to that. I think there's the Matchroom brand, along with the fighters, of course, who are the important people.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about going to one of those events,
Right.
rather than going to an event with no story, if that makes sense.
I understand that.
Al Haymon, very bright guy, a lot of power, huge amount of fighters. I'm not sure that the original model has worked or will work, but he's a huge player in the sport, and I think they'll do something over here. I hope honestly, when Channel 5 do something, people go, oh, how do you feel about that? Over the moon. More boxing, the better. If you've got the best product, it's only going to benefit you, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think there's opportunities to make money in the UK market. The only way we make, where we make our significant money is pay-per-view.
Right.
And that's the same actually in any territory, just like America.
Okay.
If it's Bob Arum, if it's Top Rank, if it's Mayweather, they're all making their money out of pay-per-view, not out of the rights fees on a Saturday night show. That's where it's really hard work.
Eddie Hearn, thank you so much for talking to Baylor TV.